Hello and welcome to the Connecting Minds podcast. My name is Christian Yordanov. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today on the podcast, I have Jean-Francois Tremblay. He is a big peptide expert. He was into peptides before it was cool, basically. And if you don't know what peptides are, this is like, I have not been more excited about something in a very, very long time. So peptides, this I believe is the future of medicine. This is the future of longevity. It's the future of overcoming the most complex of health problems. And basically, peptides are tiny little proteins that our bodies make. They're used like signaling molecules, and they can do a number of things. They can help to repair the gut. They can help the body to secrete more growth hormone, more anabolic and restorative hormones and compounds. They can, as you'll find out later on the episode, they can even help you to get a tan without even getting into the sun at all. There's thousands of these in the human body, and we're finding more and more. We're isolating more. We're learning more about their mechanisms, and they're just absolutely incredible. And Jean-Francois, as I said, he's an expert. He runs a lab in Canada. They have high quality peptides, and I was really glad to get him on the episode. Let me know what you think. If there's particular peptides for specific health goals that you have, let me know. He said he'd be willing to come back and discuss a specific thing, like whatever, for peptides for longevity, peptides for getting jacked, body recomposition, losing weight, whatever. Right? They're so amazing. They have so many different uses that, as I said, I don't think I've been this excited about something for probably for years. So I really want to share the just get these on the radar, on your radar, on more people's radar, because I think they're really gonna blow up in the future. And there's a lot of benefits that we can reap from these amazing little molecules. That I suppose one of the minor drawbacks about peptides is most of them need to be injected subcutaneously, so kind of like in the fat of the belly, which, to be honest with you, it's actually not as scary or of a hassle as you might think. It only literally takes a couple of minutes to do. It's painless, but the health benefits that you get from these things are, I honestly don't think there are supplements out there that can exhibit the same beneficial effects as these tiny little proteins that are, again, that our bodies make. These are things our bodies make. They're not foreign compounds, so this is the amazing part. And I guess the issue is that the older we get, the less of them we produce, and that is why having more of them in our system has these amazing kind of wide ranging effects in the body. So as you can probably tell, I'm very excited about this topic. Super excited to have Jean-Francois on the podcast to share some of his knowledge and experience on the topic. He's a very interesting guy, very likable, very kind of jovial. He loves to joke around like me. So very cool dude. Glad to have connected with him. And actually, in a couple of my upcoming episodes, I've got a couple of doctors on, so we'll be talking more about peptides for different purposes. So trust me when I say that all the best doctors out there are using these things. All the smartest biohackers are using them. So this is why the name of this episode is "You Need to Know About Peptides," because I'm telling you, this is the future of health, longevity, and basically dealing with this chronic health disease epidemic, pandemic that we are dealing with right now. So thank you so much for joining me once again. I hope you enjoy the show. And without further ado, here is Jean-Francois Tremblay.
Connecting Minds is a space dedicated to honoring the amazing authors, researchers, clinicians, artists, and entrepreneurs who are contributing to our collective evolution or simply making the world a better place. These thought-provoking conversations are intended to expand our horizons, so come with an open mind and let us grow together. Here is your host, Christian Yordanov.
Today on the Connecting Minds podcast, I'm honored to have Jean-Francois Tremblay. Did I say that correctly?
That was, yeah, good.
Okay. How are you? Can you give folks a little bit of your background and how you got into peptides before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, please?
Well, okay, sure. I'm based in Canada. My academic background is my first degree. Well, first I entered university studying biochemistry. Then I moved to kinesiology, exercise science, and I got my degree in that. And after that, that's a bit irrelevant, but I did 1 year of mechanical engineering, for the maths and physics and all that, because I was interested in biomechanics. And to my big surprise, after that, I got admitted in the pharmacy school here in Montreal. So I studied pharmacy. And then I started my career, so to say, but not in pharmacy, actually. It was more like training and consulting with athletes. So the earlier years of my career were very sport oriented with athletes. Of course, I was very popular, studied pharmacy and kinesiology.
Nice.
The link was fastly made. So I was not consulted for training per se. I was consulted for supplementation.
Enhancement, let's say.
Exactly. And I did that for a few years, and I started to travel. Actually, I went to live in Mexico for almost 10 years. Then there I continued to do that. Once I started, I spoke Spanish. It took me a year. And then from there I moved to Europe, where actually I did a master's degree in pharmacology. And I came back to Canada 2013.
Okay.
And I kind of reestablished myself here. And along the years, and as I was getting older, I was more and more into consulting in, I wouldn't say anti-aging per se, because the funny thing about all those anti-aging protocols and all that is that none are proven yet, because it didn't start long ago enough. So we have people that we see the actual benefits of those therapies. So it's still in the air, but I prefer to call them healthy aging. That's what I propose. And and now that's basically what I do, and it's much more gratifying actually to improve somebody's health than to bring some athletes to it's nice, to bring an athletes to a higher level. But this is it. As somebody who's in a bad health and you bring him to a good health and a better health, then that's, more, as a person, I'm sure you'll understand it. Much more gratifying.
That's why I wrote the book on autism. Is I wanted to write a book on kind of like elevating executives and like work on executive coaching type clients.
It's more that.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing, that book that was written in 1982, the title is called, it's Life Extension. It was by Sean and his wife. I bought it back then, And already I was interested in those topics, but not for the life extension part, but for
Mm.
the improvement. And that's why I went into kinesiology,
Interesting.
for I don't like sports, but I believe in exercise and
Mm.
training as one mean or one tool to
Yeah.
help that purpose. And then pharmacology uh, is to an amazing mean. Not all drugs are bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now we
Oh
have
yeah.
peptides that are not even drugs, and they do amazing things.
Yeah. And they came out of pharmaceutical research, at least to a great
Well, it
extent.
came out actually. I would say the actual it came with the Russian peptides, the bioregulators
Mm-hmm.
that hold leaded by Kavinson in St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And that's almost like 50 years ago. It was during the Cold War. He was a doctor with the military. So, they say, okay, him and other ones, they say, find things, to make our soldiers better. And he came
Yeah.
across peptides.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it started.
So actually, could just before we get that, can you tell the listeners what are, first of all, what are peptides, and maybe weave into how you got into peptides as your career kind of progressed,
Oh,
as you moved
sure.
around. Just give a
Okay,
little bit on
peptides.
peptides. Yeah.
It's really easy. Chemically, there are little chains of amino acids, basically. As soon as you link two amino acids together, that becomes a peptide.
Mhm.
And technically, it's up to about 50 amino acids. You're starting to, you talk of a peptide. After that, you have polypeptides, then proteins.
Yeah.
Um, and why are they so interesting? Well, many reasons, but one of them is that we produce them naturally, our body, our cells. They're signaling molecules
Mm-hmm.
we produce. We know more than 7,000 peptides already that we know
Wow.
what they are. We don't know all what they do. That's why you
Mm-hmm.
have so many research coming out now. It's not that they discovered the new peptides. They just, some team somewhere, they say, okay, this one, let's look into, we know it exists. Let's
Yeah.
look into what does it do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's estimated that probably we have like more than 250,000 peptides in the body.
Wow.
Many of them we're not even aware of. They're
Wow.
really at the core of our biochemistry. Many times at the gene level, I could explain a bit. Uh, some of them, they work interacting directly with the DNA chain
Mm.
to modify the gene expression. So that's really
Yeah.
epigenetic at its core.
Yeah.
You cannot get
I've
better than that.
I've seen it. Someone said, maybe it was even you on the podcast, that the smaller peptides seem to have
Yeah.
more.
Um, I found that Carl Lanore stated that too. Is actually he saw that in a funny way. They seem somehow to have the most impact. And I think because they're so small,
Yeah.
peptides, as I said, they're signaling molecules. They are like keys. So
Yeah.
probably being so small, they introduce themselves so easily
Mm.
in receptors.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
being so small, that's what allows them. That's why those Russian bioregulators, there is like
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of them. They all from 2 to 4 amino acids, and they introduce themselves all the way into the DNA chain
Mm-hmm.
and it modifies a bit the configuration of the DNA in that position,
Mm-hmm.
which increase the expression of the genes there with
Wow.
all the cascade of positive effects you get from that.
Right. So basically, the epigenetic stuff you were kind of alluding to
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah, and all those bioregulators, Russian, they work there in the DNA. Other ones, some of them, they have their receptor site on the uh, wall of the cell, the wall of the nucleus, or some like mitochondria walls inside mitochondria. They have many. They could work, but the nice part, they all exist already in our body,
Mm-hmm.
and that over the years and evolution shows us that uh, aging. What is aging? Basically, what I believe, we're born to die. Basically, there is two ways for a species to perpetrate itself: either through eternal life, you never die, or through reproduction.
Yeah.
So on this planet, reproduction was chosen
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
pretty much all species. So that implies death. And what I'm going to say may sound harsh for some listeners, but nature is cruel. So
Mm-hmm.
if we look only in the eyes of nature, basically any individual from any species, when it cannot reproduce anymore, then it becomes useless.
Yeah.
Then that's kind of the trigger for the death process. Obviously, it doesn't happen from one day to the next,
Yeah.
but the trigger, the signals are sent. Okay, this individual, it's time. It's time to die. So
Mm.
slowly things happen biochemically, that accumulation of senescent cells, and mostly actually that's one of the main it seems to be one of the main target now of aging. uh,
Mm-hmm.
all those processes start, and slowly you start the death process, and you die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So and why did I get so interested? Well, actually, personally, in peptides, because I read, like, it was at the end of the 90s. I read an article on that tanning compound, melanotan,
Yeah.
in a French magazine, Science et Vie. And, there was a little thing, and me, I was like, oh, because usually I'm white like a ghost. So I say, and nothing ever worked. I
Yeah.
would burn in the sun, and
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing worked. And I got interested in that peptide, and it was cost me quite a lot at the time, and I could get some, and hey, guess what? It worked.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Then after that, a few more peptides at the beginning of this century came out, mostly growth hormone secretagogue at the time.
Yeah.
And and I got interested in those compounds right away. People say I'm an expert in peptides, for a long time, but back then it was easy to be an expert in peptides. There were only 3 or 4 around, so you
Yeah.
knew those 4, and bang, you were the expert.
Yeah.
Now it's
A
a
bit
bit
harder
more
now.
complicated.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's how I got interested, personally, because I say, oh, and it was funny because first time you use them, you take medication or supplements, you're used to big pills, or if you do injections of vitamins or whatever, it's like 1 ml, 2 ml, 3 ml. And suddenly you start with those peptides and you inject like a tenth of a ml.
Yeah.
And you're not talking milligrams, you're talking micrograms.
Mm.
And you say, oh, such a small amount of compound will
Yeah.
have such a huge effect, because you're
Yeah.
talking, tanning, it's not like life saving or anything, but when you start to, it's your whole body that gets darker. The same thing. Normally,
Yeah.
you would
Yeah.
need to spend hours in the sun. Now you take that little shot, and me, I was like, whoa, that's
So you take
potent.
melanotan, and you don't even have to be in the sun. You
No,
start
no, no,
tanning.
no, no,
That's
no. Me,
amazing.
I didn't go in the sun for like years and years.
That's amazing.
And yeah, because it's an analog of the melanin stimulating hormones that
Hmm.
stimulates the secretion of melanin. So it's your natural tan
Yeah.
it makes it come out. And yeah, of course, people, they say it works better if you go in the sun because it brings it out faster. That's all. But
Yeah.
me, I never did that always, and yeah, I got actually at some times in my life, I was too dark.
But are there any other physiological benefits to melanotan?
Oh,
That's
they
why
are.
I'm
Yeah, it was found out that it's anti-inflammatory.
okay.
There is because that's the thing. It works. The receptors are in the upper centers in the brain,
Mhm.
so that's why you have. There is a pro-sexual effect to it. Like for a while, a company wanted to use it to compete with Viagra back then
I heard that. Yeah.
because it works amazingly good, but it's not
Really.
local. It stimulates the parts in the brains that are linked to your
Hmm.
sexual
Genitally.
organs
Yeah.
and provoke those things. Plus, it's not only for men, it's not only the erection, it's the drive that is improved. Um, the sensations are actually better. So
Interesting.
because
And for
it's
women
really,
as well.
yeah, it turns out it works pretty good for women.
Awesome.
Yep, yeah.
Notes to
Sometimes
self. Investigate that
sometimes
one.
too well.
That's awesome. So okay. So you got in with melanotan. How did you then progress onto your personal journey with peptides?
Well, by using them, uh, because I think even you look into all those podcasters on anti-aging, healthy aging, health, sport, whatever. I think we all started at the same point. What can I do for myself? Um, and so first it was for me. I say, oh, then this one comes up. Okay, that I'll try it. You find out it works. You start as I was consulting. So I was already in the field. I say, why don't you try this? Let's try that. And suddenly you develop kind of a pool of your little own studies, so to say.
Hmm.
You say, okay, I give it to 20 people, and I don't know, two didn't get any results. So you start to develop your own. It's not very scientific.
Yeah.
It's empirical, but you start to get a good idea how it goes. And
Yeah.
so with time, with my clients, with myself, with close friends, that
Mm.
are into that too, and over the years, you get to know them, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you you produce peptides, right? Can Lab. You guys do
Yeah, no, well,
peptides.
yeah. When I came back to Montreal, it took me like a couple of years, but yeah, we the lab was set up already. I hooked up with a biochemist, and we started to produce. He was making peptides already, but for
Mm.
other means. Uh, so he was looking for, but he's kind of a lab rat, so he knew there was a market, but he had no clue how to bring it out. He
Yeah.
knew I had some reach through people I knew, so we hooked up, and we started to make them.
That's amazing. And so what has been like your biggest challenge with producing and bringing it to the market so far?
Competition.
Competition from
Well,
China?
meaning that there were already a lot of companies selling peptides on the
Yeah.
internet. You Google buy peptides, and you're gonna have pages and pages
Yeah.
and pages. And it was like, okay, we're just one more. We're new. What
Yeah.
differentiate us? So basically, and it fast, and people, they realize, because I even posted, there is a video of me in the lab, not very professional video, but you see me in the lab,
Yeah.
how we make them. And it turns out we are the only ever company that ever made that kind of video. You
Mm.
go look at all those companies. The best you're gonna get are pictures of a lab.
Yeah,
That it's easy to get internet pictures, set up a
of
website,
course,
whatever.
of course.
But there is nobody you don't know who's behind them.
Yeah.
Even the biggest, the only one that I know of that you knew who was behind it was in America. It was TaylorMade. They
Mhm.
were very upfront with that. You knew who's behind it. They would do podcasts on them.
That's
They were
Dr. Seeds
very
one, right?
at the time, yeah. But
Yeah.
Dr. C's and Ryan Smith, who was their front speaker,
Mm.
um, and you knew who was behind them, so at least you had that security.
Yeah.
Um, then I came up with my own little. We're gonna make better ones this year,
Yeah.
and none of those companies, you don't know who's behind, and even if some people are good at searching on the net, okay, look at
Mhm.
the company and the company of the company, and you kind of get to the actual owners. You cannot even find that.
Yeah.
You don't know, they're just there and they sell something and you have no clue who they are.
Yeah.
And um, and it turns out that I would say 99% of all those companies, they get Chinese products.
Mhm.
Because it's easy. Even myself, when I started, I was getting them from China. That was the only source you
Yeah.
could get them. Uh, they would get them from China.
Yeah.
And per se, well, the problem is, or the situation is, quality. You don't
Mm.
know. Chinese, they're historically known that if they can pass a fast one on you, they will.
Yeah.
Example, melanotan. There is that study that came out in 2014
Mm.
where Europe, in Scandinavia, one of the Scandinavian country, they ordered 15 vials of melanotan from different companies to analyze them.
Yeah.
So it turns out they all contain melanotan at different degrees of purity,
Mhm.
but they were all sold as 10 milligrams per vials. But in the analysis, they showed that systematically they contained 5 milligrams, half of it.
Yeah.
So, but nobody ever knew that. Why? Because in China, it's not like there is 50 places that make peptides. There is maybe two or three. If you go on Alibaba, they're all resellers that get from those. So let's say a company, they say, okay, they make 1 kilo of melanotan. They make all the corresponding vials and everything. Then they reach all those resellers. They say, okay, we have this. How many do I keep for you? How many for you? And then they sell them. That's why you have pretty much all the same prices.
Yeah.
It's pretty much everything is the same.
Yeah.
Uh, and what happened? So they would get all the same products basically from the same. You start using it in Portugal, eventually you'll develop a tan. It's going to take you 10, 15 days
Mhm.
because you're not taking 1 milligram a day. You're actually taking half a milligram, but you will get the tan eventually. I'm in Canada, the same thing. Forum, we talk, we say, yeah, yeah, okay, it's good because, we got the tan at the same
Yeah.
time. And you get that, the expression, if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes truth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now the truth was, yeah, this is it. It works that way, and bang.
Yeah.
Me, I remember when we put our melanotan on the market, one of the effect of it when you start is you get some kind of stomach. Uh, it's weird. It lasts only for a few minutes, but you feel like you want to throw up, but you don't. You feel
Mhm. Yeah. I
bad.
know that
It's not
feeling.
a big thing. A lot of my clients, they would switch to my melanotan, and then they would write or call me and say, hey, I threw up, because they were used to have those vials. So now they would take the full dosage. They were not used to that. And even if they had used it before, and then they would throw up.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
see, the Chinese, they will do that. You will get the tan, so they go away with less. And that's one trick they have. Another trick is, not, yeah, another trick I remember back in, that's maybe 15 years ago, when the big craze about, or maybe less, the growth hormone. They would sell growth hormone. You know, the
Mm.
great cap, they would call green caps and all that. And one reseller or company, they put on the market very, very good quality, well dosed. You would buy 10 IUs, and they would sell those ones for about 6 months. Then they switched to another compound. I don't remember what it is. Okay, when you take growth hormone, eventually you'll develop what they call carpal tunnel syndrome,
Yeah,
inflammation,
yeah.
and it's bothering. So they switch it for something else that had for a side effect that carpal tunnel inflammation, but
Jesus
it
Christ.
wasn't growth hormone anymore. So you didn't get, so people, they would use it and fast, they would get the carpal tunnel inflammation, and it would say, oh, it must be
It's the good
really
stuff.
strong and good.
Yeah.
And, and they probably made a bunch of money with that. Plus you have the quality, when you mass produce the way they do, and more so, there is an optimal quantity of peptides that, okay, let's say I wanted to make 1 gram,
Hmm.
let's say 1 to 20 grams, I can get a very high purity. If I make a kilo, no, I cannot get the same purity. It's
Yeah,
too much to synthesize, to filter at the end. I'm not saying it's gonna go down to 50%,
yeah,
but let's say you synthesize 1 kilo of a peptide, you will not get that high purity you would get with smaller batches.
yeah, yeah,
And they do that. They mass produce. You see that with pretty much anything they do.
yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. You make good
that's why
point.
they say now, that everybody wonders why the virus is sticking around so long. If it came from China, it shouldn't, last so long.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
so,
it's all
so,
those quality things. So we came up and we showed people that mostly as a company, they were produced here. We had quality products, and you would get what you pay for,
let me tell you.
basically.
Let me tell you what my dilemma is. Maybe you can advise me, right? So,
Sure.
first of all, I think a lot of people. I don't think I would ever advise anyone client of mine to inject these research chemicals. Uh, from mostly from China. We don't know what technically we don't really know unless you buy like 10 or 20 vials and you have one sent over, but it becomes expensive. So I think my dilemma right now is, first of all, well, and maybe this is the question I kind of at the end I want to pose to you is, part of it is, when will this kind of go from research only to when can we you know buy it like a supplement, if ever.
Or pharmaceutical, or in
Or
pharmacies as a
yeah,
prescription.
yeah. And
Well,
then, sorry, okay, let's tackle that one, because it's quite a complex issue,
well, it's
isn't it?
happening already.
Yeah.
I know in America for sure there is a couple of peptides that are sold in pharmacies. The whole international situation about that is, it's easy because we produce them in the body. Pharmaceutical companies cannot patent them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I'm a pharmaceutical company. I put a peptide on the market. Of course, they're in for the money. So let's say they sell it $500. for whichever amount. And then, because there is no patent, first thing you know, a month after, somebody's going to come out, make the generic of it, and sell it for $100, and
Yeah.
so nobody's going to buy from that company. So they don't have an interest doing it. They didn't have, but they knew it. They know it's good. So now the way they worked around it is they patent the peptide just for the form and its applications. Now, if you look at the newest peptides, you're going to say patent for, I don't know, thymosin beta 4. There is one company and its application. Then they're going to list everything that is they know about it's good for. Why? Because now it's in the market, in the pharmacies, and there are doctors that in the US that do prescribe peptides, lots of them. Now they have to go to compounding pharmacies, but they're still pharmacies. Now that company that makes the thymosin beta 4 has their product in pharmacies too. They will, it's not there yet. So now, because they have the patent on the applications, even if the pharmacist could compound that peptide for cheaper than the pharmaceutical one, they won't be able to, because no, the doctor prescribed it for that condition. And since that peptide is under patent for that condition, that will force the pharmacist to sell the pharmaceutical one. So that's how they kind of grab the market. And through lobbying and all that, they try to kill the gray market, so to say, those internet sales and everything.
By the way, do you know if I don't know in Europe are there compounding pharmacies? Is it any that
I'm not aware of, actually. I know it exists, like for creams and little stuff, but I found Europe to be a lot, for living there, and I've seen it much more secretive on their things. Think about Switzerland, for decades they've been known, North Americans, they go to Switzerland for those anti-aging therapies, and nobody knew exactly what they were doing. Each clinic had its little own thing, and what are they doing there? You may have a rough idea, but none of the minute details. So I think a lot is happening in Europe, in clinics and in centers and doctors, but I think they're much more closed on what they're doing. They don't shout it out.
Yeah, we don't have conferences or anything on peptides.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because of laws, to protect themselves, or just to keep their market, or I don't know. But I found it to be much more close on it. You don't have much information coming from Europe. It's conferences, as you said. That's why this year, hopefully soon we'll be able to travel again, and I'm planning to do a few conferences over Europe on peptides.
To organize them?
To go, organize and do myself and a couple of other specialists.
Let me know. I hope you publish that somewhere, because I'd definitely be up for going. You see, the problem we have is in Europe, if we want quality stuff, quality supplements, I have to buy it from America, from the USA mostly.
Yeah.
The problem is the import duty and the especially fast delivery that just make it prohibitively costly. So and then the other thing is, like, in the customs is really bad in Portugal, so you have to wait for like weeks. So with peptides, you want ideally 2-day delivery.
In many European, I ship to Europe,
You ship to Europe.
Portugal, Spain, they just return them. They keep them for a long time just to tell you at the end no, and they
Yeah,
ship it back here. Germany, the same thing. They don't let them through. Other countries, Switzerland, no problems.
yeah,
Belgium, Holland, no problem. England, it's like they don't care. Yeah, sure.
yeah. This is such a big
And
problem in Europe.
and that was a good thing, not because of the Brexit. They have that border again between England and Europe, or soon to be.
Mm,
But they started to install some. So a lot of people in Europe, like in Germany, you have re-shippers in England.
yeah.
So I would ship to England, and then it would pass the custom in England, no problem, and then reship to Germany or
Mm,
to Spain or Portugal or Italy with stuff. But again, I ship to I know Switzerland is good, Austria is good.
mm.
France is actually not so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Belgium,
So
good.
you still work with these guys, yeah, in Europe?
Yeah, yeah. It's not my big market, but
Yeah.
England all the time. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and we ship. It's very fast. 2-3 days, it's there.
Yeah,
Uh,
because like I'd love to maybe like get some of those people's contacts because like I have no problem paying extra money to get good product and not have
well,
to
I'm
deal
I'm
with
working with a
customs.
guy now that is a businessman. Half the time I have Skype with him. He's either in England or in Dubai. So, and is really, really interested in setting up kind of a hub in Europe
Okay, that's
where
sweet.
you would order here, from the same
Yeah.
website, but it would be shipped from within Europe. There would
You see,
be
that's the key. That's the key to
yeah.
success because, or what I'll tell you is, so the best supplement companies, the smartest guys. So Dr. Mercola, iHerb.com. What they do is they charge the import duty at the point of sale. If you can get that figured out, then there's no problem because once it gets to customs here, oh, it's import duty paid, so they don't have to worry about it. You see, that is the key
Oh,
to
I didn't know
creating a
that
good
because
pipeline.
we ship with DHL and we can do that. Yeah, maybe I
Yeah,
should do
because
it.
DHL, I'll tell you, I had some blue blockers that got returned because DHL called me up. You need to pay duty, but then
Hmm.
they also charge you a handling fee. So it's like 70% of the
Are you
product that was gonna.
serious?
Yeah. So
Because
so
some people I saw, they would email me kind of
yeah,
complaining about that, but without
yeah,
giving the details. You'd say, "Oh, it's expensive," but I say,
yeah.
"No, maybe you get for $200. How many taxes can you pay on $200?
Hmm.
And no, 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 no. I understand. Okay,
That
yeah,
is
I'll
the
look
key.
into that.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
could.
definitely we'll talk after and get those folks contacts because like I I again I'm doing some protocols with Ipo Morel and CJC, and I'd love to know that the stuff I'm working with a legit company, and I'm sure anyone.
That's one point though, because I've been contacted a lot of times. People they say, "Oh, can you declare something else or
Yeah.
vitamin so it comes in easier?" And yeah, well, we could, but we don't because we believe we're legit companies
Mm,
and we don't want to jeopardize our
absolutely.
reputation, or it would, because the way it works today, they would catch one of those shipment, they would flag us all over the place. It's on the computer. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
they do that kind of shipping, and that would compromise us so much. So we
absolutely. It
cannot
can
do
kill
that.
your
And
whole delivery pipeline.
that's what, let's say I ship to England or to Switzerland. It is they're small they're for personal use. We declare
Yeah,
them. Now, if we make a hub there, and that's what that guy is looking at. Now, obviously, if we ship 1,000 vials or whatever, it's obvious that it's not for personal use, it's for commercial use.
Yeah.
So that's a different story in terms of custom declaration. There need to be a company in place to receive them. They have to report the sales, through tax reports, whatever. So, it's different. That's why
Yeah.
it's taking time to
Yeah.
set that up properly.
Mm.
But we're working on that. Yeah.
Awesome. I am I'm looking forward to keeping abreast of your progress there. That's exciting. But let's take it back to the actual peptides.
Yes.
What would you someone like, okay, I want to use peptides to improve my health in some aspect, increase my longevity, whatever. Maybe
Yes.
they want to lose weight, maybe they have a chronic health complaint. What would you say are like the top 5 peptides someone needs to know about?
Okay. Well, okay. To finish what I was saying about aging. So basically, and you will understand after my explanation. So the mechanism of dying kick in, and you're starting to die. So there is nothing you can do against that naturally, so to say. You can have the better diet, the exercise, your sleep is good. Yeah, it's going to make your life better, but it's not going to stop the aging processes because that's genetic, it's programmed.
Mm.
Uh, it it affects your own biochemistry. So the one of the better way I found, the only way you have is to tweak with that biochemistry. So maybe you cannot stop the signal of dying, but you can put, let's say, one of those signal is okay, decrease the production of this peptide or hormone or anything.
Yeah.
Then that we see with testosterone replacement therapies. So you take testosterone, so now you trick nature.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that with peptides. Okay, like. One peptide that's kind of new is MUTC
Mm-hmm.
that was first investigated for metabolic syndrome. It
Yeah.
improves a lot insulin sensitivity, lose weight, fat utilization, everything. It's great for that.
Yeah.
But then they found out they suspect it's an anti-aging compound. For example, in Okinawa in Japan, that
Mm-hmm.
where you have a very high rate of
Centenarians.
centenarians,
Yeah.
they found out they have a snipe of a gene that makes them, they have abnormally high levels of MUTC
Interesting.
in their cells. So we suspect, oh, it's part of the puzzle, why
Interesting.
they live so long. So it's by triggering. So if naturally your levels of MUTC are going down, well, you bring it back up yourself.
Yeah.
And so you may, well, you will see it a bit complicated because now you're telling me, okay, there are 7,000 known peptides, thousands more. I cannot start shooting like thousands of peptides. Well, maybe one day that's what we're going to do. Maybe
Yeah.
in, 100 years, maybe that's going
Yeah.
to be the thing.
Maybe.
But it turns out that no, you don't need to because they signal to so many places. Of course, there are new ones coming out, but like, for example, another mitochondrial peptides is the humanin.
Mm.
And just that one given to mice, they found they live 20% longer. And that's one peptide. So, you don't need to take thousands of them. If you take one peptide that was shown in mice, we hope in man, human too, it does the same thing. Then you get that 20%. It's not adding up, of course. It's
Yeah.
not like you're taking 5 compounds and then you get 100%
200%. Yeah.
longer now. But it kind of adds up, and you have those synergetic effect. And yeah, we suspect that combinations of a few peptides work good because it's people are healthier and they feel better, and you do blood tests and they are better, and that's part of it. Obviously, if you feel better, if your organs function as they should, you decrease your insulin resistance. One thing I got from that book in '82, it was kind of basic in term. At the time they would suggest to raise your growth hormone to take ornithine and arginine. That's all we knew back then, and maybe a couple of drugs. There was that one for hypertension that raises growth hormone. Now we have secretagogues and everything. But one thing I got from this book is, if you want to slow down aging, you have to control two things. You have to control your glycemia through insulin resistance and everything, and you have to control inflammation.
Right.
Those are the two things that they have to be down.
So high blood sugar and inflammation. Yeah.
Inflammation at the base. It's very broad, because now when you look into details of all those anti-aging compounds they work on those two, basically at those two things.
Yeah.
So basically this is it. And that's even why I don't like to talk about life extension per se, because if you have a healthy aging, of course, chances are you're going to live longer, because you didn't die 10 years before of a cancer or of a heart attack, or you understand? So the mere fact of being healthy during those years will bring you further in age.
I mean, that's definitely, I definitely think that's 100% correct.
So
if you're metabolically healthy.
So that's why I believe, and some people, they freak out because some of those peptides are expensive, and I cannot afford to take all that. Again, to come to the 5, you don't need to go crazy and spend fortune on that. I do believe too in the 80-20 rule. With we see that in sports. If you train, you just want to be in good shape. You train 3 times a week for an hour, weight training, you'll have an amazing shape down the line. But that's not going to bring you to a competitive level in any sports. But that 20%, 3 hours a week of training will bring about 80% of your potential. Now, if you want to become an athlete, to compete and to a higher level, then to go get that 20% difference, you'll need to throw in that 80% effort. That means go to the gym 2, 3, 4 hours a day and the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So it's a bit the same thing with that. You can go full-fledged, spend thousands of euros or dollars per month on supplements, and you'll get to that top level, like Dave Asprey, who says, I want to live 180 years.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even see the point, actually, because it's...
It depends
they ask people, old people, would you like to live longer? And basically, how could I say, I would say wealthy, but no, people who are well off in life, they said, no, why? What is there more for me? And if you talk to super rich, they say, I've traveled everywhere. I had everything I want. They don't see the point of pushing it further. And poor people, so to say, they say, well, what, you want to extend my misery? So, no, you have those two extremes. What I found, actually, people who want to live longer are younger people in their 20s and 30s. Because they're at the peak of their health and they want to remain like that. And I was there. That's what I wanted back then. But as you age, because that whole dying thing, it's not only physiological, it's at one point you kind of, it seems like our biology shows us that, yeah, okay, no, that's the way of life, and
Yeah.
you fall into more and more of an acceptance of it,
Yeah.
and it becomes less important to live longer, not healthier. 100% that I want that, but
Absolutely.
I don't strive to live 150 years,
What do you
because
want to live
again,
to?
me,
Out of curiosity. What
actually
would be a good
myself,
figure?
100.
100 would be, you'd be
Yeah, I
happy.
think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And I remember that TED talk I saw, that man, he was 94, and bodybuilding at 94. He didn't
Jeez.
have a great shape at that age, but
Yeah.
he was in good shape. And he said the most important thing, uh, never eat well, exercise, and never stop working.
Okay, I like
There
that.
is a poet and singer here in Quebec. He used to say that the best way to kill a man is to pay him to do nothing.
Mm.
You're going to kill the person. We're meant to do things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and it's funny because that joke the guy said, he said, imagine you are 100 years old and, in perfect health, and you go skiing all day, it's fine. Then you come back at night and, you have a bit of pains in the knees, but that's normal. You're not 90 anymore. That's what I want.
Yeah, I love
And
that. You see, it's about
I
increasing
met
health span.
I met that doctor. I was down in Florida for a little thing gathering that happened there, and there was that doctor, 80 years old. I forgot his name, but he was known because at 75 he ran a Spartan race.
Oh my God.
Great shape, still
Oh my God.
practicing, doctor in Florida, I think. Um, then the next day I met him, we get a call. He died. He went back to his home and he died the next day. And we asked, what did he die of? Well, he was in a meditation session and he just died.
Wow.
So that's how I want to die.
Yeah, that's
You
definitely.
live your life to the fullest, and then poof, you're gone. No suffering, no nothing.
Yeah,
And that's great.
totally
He
agree
was
with that.
80, not 90, not 100, but let me tell you, that man lived his life more than
Mm,
people who lives 90 or 100 years,
yeah,
or a lot of them, because he never stopped. He didn't have that. That's what I want.
yeah. Okay, tell me what's your daily peptide? Your
Oh boy,
bread and
well, it's
butter.
that is complicated because I have them. So it's like,
I want to know
it's
all
like they
about
say,
your
it was
protocols.
there. It seemed like a good idea at the time. So I took it.
So okay, so wait. Let me ask you this. Can you tell me what is the day in the life of Jean-Francois? Like, tell me the supplements you take. Like, do you eat breakfast? Do
Okay.
you not? Go on with this
Okay,
everything.
I don't do breakfast. I do.
Okay.
I'm still, here it's it's 1:25 already, but I have my coffee. I got up late today. I worked late at night. I went to bed at
Mm.
4 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Okay, my coffee. That's the first thing. I put collagen in it,
So wait, you haven't done any peptides before you
creatine.
have your coffee? You haven't
No,
done any
no, no, no.
peptides yet?
First the
Okay.
coffee. No, today no.
Okay.
It goes by phases. There are times I don't take any because I'm tired of shooting myself. Other times I shoot myself like 6 times through the day.
So creatine in the coffee. What
Um,
else? Collagen.
Creatine, collagen, tyrosine, the amino
Tyrosine. Yeah.
acid,
Yeah.
about 1 gram, and that's my morning. A very strong coffee,
Okay.
a bit of cream. Supplements, again, they're all over the place. So I don't believe. Okay, vitamins, minerals, you need
Yeah.
to take them
Yeah.
pretty much every day. A good rule of thumb on supplements, if you should take all the time, it's easy. Ask yourself, can I be deficient in this?
Mm.
So, can you be deficient in magnesium? Yes.
Yeah.
So, take magnesium and every day.
Yeah.
Can you be deficient in curcumin? No. So it's not
No.
meant to be taken all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to cycle. So me, I would prefer, they say, okay, example, for anti-cancer, antioxidant, curcumin, green tea extract, and maybe a couple of other ones.
Mm.
Me, I would be more to not take a bit of each every day, but I would take a much higher dose of only curcumin one day. Then the next day, take a much higher dose of only green tea extract, and so on, and rotate like that. So,
Keep the
because
body guessing.
anything that is not necessary to the body, you develop some kind of resistance to it.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Uh, Even training, actually. That's why all the studies you'll ever see on training, most of them, they're done at the most on the 12 weeks
Mm.
period. Because after that, it's not working so good. They would need to change. That's why you have periodization in training, because it was realized a long time ago that not one training, the best training you can do, the best training for you is the one you're not doing.
Absolutely.
Keep that
Absolutely.
in mind. You need to
Yeah.
change. And I believe it's the same with those non-essential supplements.
Mm.
It's better to rotate them, higher dose, rotate, and then you can sustain much longer.
Sure.
And don't develop that accoutumance. You get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. The body
So that's why
down
I have
regulates
a
a lot of.
bunch.
Yeah.
I have a bunch around, but I don't take them every day. I say, okay, today I'll take this one and this one. And,
But what about
next day.
peptides, Jean-Francois? Don't hold out on us. Come on, you're torturing
Okay,
us.
peptides. The
Tell
one
us.
okay, anti-aging, basically health in general. Okay, thymosin beta-4.
Okay.
I take a 10 milligram shot maybe once a week.
Okay.
One shot, bang.
Every week, roughly.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. I don't keep track, but I say, if I just poof a shot.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in cycles. That comes from training too. Olympic lifting I did for a few years, and it's all based on the microcycle, microcycles, and all that. I believe in the natural cycle. So a year is a natural cycle.
Yeah.
3 months is like a season.
Yeah.
A day is a cycle. A week is not. We made that up.
Yeah, we did make that up. A lunar cycle, though. Yeah.
28 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could consider. But I'm more into close to 3 weeks. It's actually 17 days. But, to round it up to 20, 21 days, it's the life cycle of a mitochondria. So if anything you'll take that works with mitochondria, you do it, in a 3 weeks burst.
Didn't know that.
So for my anti-aging protocols, usually what I would do is do 1 or 2 compounds for 3 or 6 weeks, 4 times a year.
Okay.
And basic dose compounds I would do 4 times a year would be BPC 157, because it covers pretty much repairing of tissues. You're going to say, well, what does it have to do with anti-aging? Well, that's the point.
Absolutely.
If your tissue is healthy, repaired, then it won't get sick. Because it's not only good to repair tendons and ligaments, it repairs pretty much everything: lung, heart, liver, kidneys, brain, everything.
Absolutely.
So it is a healthy aging peptide. The epitalon, this one I do twice a year systematically. Any peptide.
What about the secretagogues, growth hormone secretagogues?
Yeah, that I'll come to that. Okay. But in terms of cycles, any peptide that is for the immune system could be the Russian Timalin,
Mm-hmm.
or the Timulin, which is different, but works good too. Could be thymosin alpha 1, and there is a few other ones. Either one you do 4 times a year, just to, they work like adaptogen. They will bring
Yeah.
your immune system where it should be.
Mm.
So that I think is very important.
Okay.
And okay, one peptide that I found to be very, very underrated, it's a GHK peptide. It's a 3 amino acid peptide, but when you start to read about it, it affect the expression of more than 4,000 genes
Wow.
that we know of. Uh, it's ridiculous. It works, and it's one of those small peptides that has it repairs damaged DNA. There are some forms of cancer that I think you have the cause. You have basically up to 80%, 87% damaged DNA in that cancer. GHK repair the damaged DNA. So that's and that's, when you think about it, that's a very profound activity.
Yeah.
So I think it's very underrated, and that's actually, GHK is probably the only peptide I tell people, take as long as you can and as much as you can afford.
Wow. Really?
If you can afford 10 milligrams a day nonstop, do it. That's the one
Wow.
that myself, actually, listen, it's a bit crazy. That's what we do, biohackers.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
myself an insulin pump. So it's a little machine, you plug it, it's a subcutaneous little needle, but you have the pump, and every hours it pumps a bit of
Wow.
the thing. You put 1 ml, and by the end of the day, it pumps just a little bit. So you have because GHK works much better like that. It's better to take small shots through the days. So, you have the pump, so it does it for yourself.
Are
So
they
I do that.
expensive?
Yeah, maybe 1,000 euros.
Oh, okay.
But they work great. Otherwise, GHK, if you do it for 3 weeks, and let's say you're going to do 4 milligrams a day, you'll be much better off if you do 4 1 milligram shots through the day.
Right.
Because in some studies I've seen this. Okay, let's say there was one study, they showed amazing effect where they would do continuous infusions to mice. And if they would good, and human equivalent was 10 milligrams a day. And if they would do 10 milligram shots, they would get nothing near the effect of the infusions. So basically, but that was duplicated by doing 10 1 milligram shots through the day, though.
Mm-hmm.
And they say to get the same effect as those 10 individual shots, you would need to take close to 100 milligram one shot.
Wow.
So you see, it's very cost efficient to spread it out.
Yeah.
But it's a bit bothering. A little trick I'm going to give to your people there. When you have to do many shots, the most bothering part of it is not the actual shot. It's the preparation of the little syringe.
Absolutely.
So you buy a bunch of those, you pre-fill them, and keep them in the fridge. So when it's time for the shot, you just pull it out, shoot yourself, and go. It's going to take 15 seconds. You understand? You won't have to open the fridge, fill up the syringe. Okay, 10 IUs. It's a bit like meal preps. You're on a diet.
Absolutely.
On Sunday afternoon, you prepare all the meals for your week.
Yeah.
All you have to do after that, you warm it up, it's ready. Or
here's the
pills.
question
You
I have
take
for
many
that.
pills, you have those boxes. So you do the same thing with syringes. You pre-fill.
So, but let's say I fill the syringe, I put the cap back on. how long can I be confident that that will remain sterile because it's no longer in a sterile environment? That's the I think the big question in my head. I'll start doing this today. Otherwise,
If you're done the whole process, like if you wipe the top on the vial with alcohol and everything, and your environment is sterile, you don't have COVID-19 floating in the air
floating
or
around.
anything.
Yeah.
A normal setup, then you don't need to worry about that.
Okay. Cool. Thanks so much for that. You're gonna save me a lot
Yeah,
of
and I have a
work.
lot of people doing that, and
That's
it works
awesome.
very good. You can mix them. Some people, yes, you can mix them.
Yeah.
Listen, what makes people think you cannot mix them in the same vial or in the same syringe in the fridge at 4 degrees or at room temperature at 20 degrees? What make you think they will interact there? But once you shoot them in your body at 37 degrees, which promote more biochemical reaction,
Yeah.
you're going to mix those peptides with thousands of other ones floating in your blood, and they don't interact with those peptides in your blood. What makes you think they will in a cold vial or in a cold syringe? They won't. We did some testing on that, actually. We tested the stability of CGC 1295 and ipamorelin together,
Yeah.
but it wasn't to show the degradation because we knew they were
There is
stable.
some.
It was to show that mixed together in the same vials up to a month in the fridge, and with the same process every day, we would take the vial out for a few minutes, put it back in, then every week test. No interaction at all. So
So their stability.
that's a myth.
So the whole thing about them being fragile and like degrading it once you mix them, that's a little bit of a myth, is it?
It's not a myth in this. Look, there are peptides. I know that researcher that he works on anti-cancer peptides, and the guy works with me, made peptides for that research, and he said they had one peptide. It was so unstable. He would finish the filtration after synthesis, and they had to inject it right away in the rats but they had to bring the rats next to the filtration unit and inject it, because they said if they had to bring the peptide to the other end of the room, by the time they would get to the other side of the room, the peptide would have degraded. But it was a very complex one. Yes, degradation of peptides exists, but not with those ones. They're linear, they're strong chains.
That's good to know.
They're they're amazingly stable. You want to try it? Try melanotan. Prepare a melanotan vial, leave it on the counter, and use it normally. You're gonna tan. It won't degrade.
Okay.
That's what I did. The first time I used it, I was in Spain. I was sharing an apartment. I didn't know the person who was living with me. I didn't want them to know I was shooting myself. So I kept, and it was in the summer in Madrid, 35 degrees, 40 degrees sometimes, in my room. I got the tan, no problem. That's right then and there. I found out, oh, it's pretty stable.
Yeah.
It's always good practice. Keep them in the fridge when they're dry form. Keep them in the freezer.
True.
But I have people sometimes they ask me, how long before they turn bad? They don't turn. It's not milk. Where it's good, it's good, it's good, and bang,
it's gone.
it's no good. No, it's not like that.
Yeah.
There might be, and if you go on CanLab page on Facebook, I posted those results. You see a slight degradation. It starts at actually a couple of them right off the synthesis, 100% pure. And then you see after a week, 2 weeks, they're 99 point something. That's really good. Yeah, there is a bit of degradation, but it's very, very small. And Clinically, it doesn't make a difference. And actually, you see studies where they study peptides and they work with 95%, and it works great. The problem with
Awesome.
that is this. I will post those because I still have some thymosin beta 4 and another peptide I bought in raw form from China.
Yeah.
And I want to put up a picture to compare. The one
Mm.
we make is crystal white. The one from China is brownish.
Mm.
We do the HPLC on both, and they both show 99% purity. But now I'm asking you, 1% impurity in the Chinese one makes it brownish.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but that doesn't look good to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not floating around free amino acids that were not. It's something else. I don't know what
Mm.
it is. We didn't look into that. I still have them. We'll look at what it is, but I will
Yeah.
post those pictures and we'll try to see what makes it brown. It's not normal.
Yeah.
So that's one of
Interesting.
the thing with China. They will show and you test them and 99%. It's not the
What's the other percent?
99% that concerns me. It's that 1%.
Interesting.
What is that? Is it heavy metals? Uh, you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the last thing you want to inject into yourself is heavy metals because that completely bypasses the defense mechanisms. But
Because people, they talk about aluminum, for example. You
yeah,
know that in some vaccines that causes
yeah,
autism because how much aluminum can you have in one vaccine injection to
yeah,
cause those problems? Just to show you, you don't need like 10 grams of aluminum shot.
yeah,
Doesn't take much. If it reach the right place, you
yeah,
have serious problems.
totally. Um, oh, I just want to before we forget, because I want to be respectful of your time, but before we forget, what's your growth hormone secretagogue kind of yearly program look
Oh,
like?
that okay. It's like testosterone replacement therapy. People ask me, okay, they're 50, 60, 70, and they want to, growth hormone secretagogue. And they ask me, for how long do I have to take it? Well, it's in the name. It's called hormonal replacement therapy. It's replacing something that is not coming back. So you take it for the rest of your life if you can.
Right.
It's not coming back. So it's
we
part
we
of
don't
that pro
secrete as
of
much growth
tweaking.
hormone as we age, right?
Yeah, but that it's kind of the pituitary gland always can secrete growth hormone. It's the stimulus that
Mhm.
decreases. You take a 80 years old that has almost no growth hormone secretion, give him a shot of CGC 1295, pituitary will
So the
start to secrete
pituitary just
again.
needs that signal to
Yeah,
do its thing.
in the worst cases, eventually not even,
Yeah.
but in most cases, it just needs that stimulus to start producing and secreting again.
So what you're saying is with the growth hormone secretagogues, like a lot of doctors are saying 5 days on, 2 days off. You could do that
Yeah,
indefinitely,
yeah,
pretty
because you
much.
have that thing, and that comes all from that growth hormone culture. Because for many years in America, those anti-aging clinic, it was basically testosterone and growth hormone they would give you,
Yeah.
and that was the whole anti-aging thing.
And vitamins.
But they would give growth hormone, and the risk you have by giving growth hormone is to overdose because you want to remain in physiological levels, and most often they would give too much, so the receptors will start to shut down with time, so eventually it wouldn't work as it should.
Mm.
So because of that, they started to cycle the growth hormone. They say you take it 5 days, then give a rest to the receptors, and then start again. But with peptides, you don't have that because it has kind of a way, and more so if you do it only once a day. You have your daily cycle, so you have a secretion of growth hormone for maybe an hour, then you have roughly 23 hours where it's back to normal. So you have your cycle, your 22, 23 hours rest
Mm-hmm.
where there is no stimulation of the growth hormone receptor. So you're good. And they were not overstimulated during that 1, 2 hours.
Right.
And growth hormone secretagogue, I found it very hard if you do it once a day, even at high dosage, to bring the growth hormone over the physiological level. It has because it's much more natural. It has a way to auto-regulate itself
Mm-hmm.
where you won't secrete too much. You're just gonna secrete pretty much what you need. So I found that you don't need to do that. I would do it in cases where usually what I would suggest to people is you do it for 2, 3 months, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go for blood test, mainly IGF-1 because that's the one. And if it's too high, and because when you take those, it's like 10 IU's, and it's already small to measure. So instead of, okay, take 7 IU's, so now you're there with the syringe and it's hard to gauge. So then instead of decreasing the daily dose, then I would tell them if it's too high, okay, 7 days a week, it was too much, then maybe try 5 days a week. I would use that to modulate the response, not to rest the receptors or anything.
Right, right. That's awesome. That's really good to know. Yeah, because
Yeah.
my idea was to do a 3-month CJC ipamorelin daily, sometimes twice a day, morning,
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah,
and
that's more
take
like
a
for
month
body
off.
composition.
Yeah.
3 months. Again, probably you'll raise higher than physiological. And you always have to look at things in perspective. They say, okay, if you have too high levels of IGF-1, you increase the risks of some cancers.
Mm.
Yeah, of course. If you have IGF-1 elevated for years, chances are you'll get a cancer. You do it for 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the risk is not there, but it's very remote. It's like the risk of an infection when you
Sure.
inject. Even
Sure.
if you, in hospitals, there is still a risk, but it's what, 1 in 100,000?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the benefits outweigh that little risk.
Well, I think this is where having a good coach or doctor, because like what I will do after, so I'm bulking up, but after like this 3 month period, I'm gonna be doing some fasting days and much
Oh, by
longer
the way,
intermittent. So
if you
should
want to
balance.
make that more efficient, it was recently, last year, I think, it was found that BPC 157 increases the receptivity of the growth hormone receptors.
Wow.
So if you take a bit of BPC 157 at the same time,
With the IPA,
yeah, it's the growth hormone you will secrete will become more efficient because you will have increased the receptivity, the receptor. And
Yeah.
now some people, they propose one of the mechanism of why BPC 157 is so good at repairing tissues. That would be one of the mechanisms.
Interesting. It makes
It
sense.
makes the repairing effect of growth hormone work, even whatever you have circulating works better.
I don't know if I'm placeboing myself, but I did a couple of bottles of BPC 157, and like pretty amazing. I felt like my gut improvement of my gut function, my daily
works
rhythm. It's
ridiculously good for that.
so I can only imagine buying like a product, like a good high quality product, that's lab tested and whatnot. So this is
Listen,
what
with BPC 157, I've seen total remission of Crohn's disease
Jesus, that's
in
amazing.
3 months.
Oh my God, you see, this is why I want you on the podcast, because we need to spread knowledge of peptides, Jean-Francois. I'm really honored that you spent so much time with me today. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where to find out more about you, Can Lab, all that good stuff?
The best, I think, Facebook. Facebook.
Facebook.
Just search CanLab, CANLAB. So we have a page
Yeah, we have the
that would,
links.
if you want, that would direct you if you want to our store for
Yeah.
peptides. I post some information, not so much because Facebook they have those regulators, so I cannot. But I try. I'm not much of a writer, so I don't put that many things. But it's a start, of a bit on
Hmm.
some, like on GHK. I explain a few things,
Awesome.
once in a while,
Yeah.
and from there you can, or just Google CanLab,
Yeah,
and
I'll have the links. Yeah,
I know.
for sure.
I don't go on Reddit, but I know they talk about us there. And overall, good reviews.
It's
I've
pretty
been
good.
told.
Yeah, I've been on Reddit on the peptides. Yeah, it's actually the only two companies that you hear good things are CanLab and TaylorMade. I think that
Yeah,
those are the only.
TaylorMade doesn't make most peptides anymore.
Is it?
It was for CanLab. That was kind of a lucky strike because we kind of became one of the best next thing. A lot now
Mm,
have a bunch of clinics and doctors that source their peptides with us.
that's awesome.
Um,
I love
it's
that, and I do hope you continue to build this pipeline in Europe because we need this so badly. Like we're a little bit in the dark ages here. With all the functional lab testing and all this stuff. So,
well, but again, I don't think you are per se. I think because you have great, you have Dr. Ertogs in Belgium that is a big believer in peptides and he uses them.
oh,
But see, he doesn't. Even
yeah,
him, you don't get much information out of him. He talks about
yeah,
hormones and everything. He says, "Yeah, peptides, this, that, very fast, melanotan a bit."
yeah,
Melanotan. One of the advantage of it is, like for women listening, is that I don't know idea if I can say that without sounding racist, but you look at black people, right? They wrinkle less
yeah.
than white people. That's because when you tan, the melanin makes your skin thicker, up to 3 times thicker. So that's why you wrinkle less.
Interesting.
You have a stronger skin. So black people naturally have that strong skin. But you're gonna say, yeah, but people who go in the sun, because then they have damage from UV lights. So when you use melanotan, you get the tan, and it becomes you wrinkle less. I was told not so. I'm 57, and somebody said, "You
Yeah, your
don't have
skin's pretty
wrinkles.
amazing. It's
You don't
pretty
have
amazing,
wrinkles."
right?
I do look older, but I don't have wrinkles
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've
yeah. I
used
was
it
gonna
for so
say,
long,
yeah,
and I got a nice tan, but I don't get the damage of. And I know that Ertogs use it for that purpose in his anti-aging purpose protocols for the skin thickening.
I think women listening, yeah, they really need to like to listen to what you just said because like it's a lot of the beneficial effects of the sun if we can get them through something like a few peptides, maybe not melanotan isn't the only one, but if we can get that, especially like for where you live in Canada, if you're
Oh
not
yeah,
able to be like I pretty much until now the rest of the year I can walk without my t-shirt outside and get a bit of sun at least, but for
yeah,
folks in the
yeah.
northern
You're lucky.
very lucky.
Southern part of Europe,
So if we can get the some of the
it's amazingly
benefits.
nice.
Yeah,
I miss it sometimes.
yeah, oh
right
yeah,
now, right
yeah.
now, we had our first snow a few weeks ago and all that. And it's like, oh boy, when I was in Madrid, there was no snow.
Listen, if you're ever coming to Portugal, you know who to call. South
I
of
will for
Portugal.
sure.
Jean-Francois, I want to thank you so much once again for joining us today and sharing your insights. We have links to Can Lab's Facebook page and the website in the show notes. And yeah, looking forward to sharing this with other people because like what you said about the Crohn's remission in 3 months. Like I know people with IBS, IBD, and if like I can only imagine these people's the benefit it could have in
It's
that.
not the only thing. You still need to take care of the diet and
Course, yeah.
everything, but suddenly it makes all those other things
10x
you're
or
doing.
whatever.
It makes it all falls in place and it works.
It's like I was interviewing Dr. Amber Krogsrud yesterday. She's big into peptides, and she told me like until she took the peptides and the NAD, like those were the real game changers. She had some health issues herself. Until she put those peptides and the NAD in there,
but she's
it's
still doing the other things.
again, it's the baseline.
Many times that's the missing. It's another tool. Never believe that only peptides. I'm a bit, for anti-aging. I still think that's an old one. It's Siligilin. That's Deprenyl. It's an anti-aging compound from the 70s. It was known. It's a drug. But you just have to take the good from everything.
Absolutely.
But peptide, it's another tool, but it's a very potent one. And many times it becomes the cement. You will take things and they're like the bricks you need to repair, and suddenly you throw in BPC 157, and it's gonna be the cement that's gonna make everything work.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to someone yesterday about he just ordered some nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, and I told him, but you take creatine, and he's like, no. Well, like peptides and these kind of NAD things, if you're not taking B vitamins, the minerals, if you're not eating an organic diet, looking after your sleep, fitness, you're kind of adding them when there's no foundation a little bit.
Exactly. And if you have underlying conditions, and I'm not talking disease, if you have heavy metal toxicity, which are known to block receptors, peptide receptors too, or if you're deficient in something, the peptide can send all the signal it wants. If the biochemical chain doesn't have all the vitamins, because many minerals that are cofactors there, well, the signal's gonna die and nothing will happen, or very little. So it's part of a more complex thing. But I found peptides because I've been in everything. I got a shipment from Russia yesterday. Mildronate I've got. And,
nice. Don't you know what that is?
Well, it's meldonium. It's one of those Russian things. It's a complex thing.
Absolutely.
It's complex if you don't know much about it. Once you start to make the difference. And again, I don't want people to believe that they need to take like 30 pills first thing in the morning, then 20 shots. It can be simplified. And that's why I try to do too. Maybe we could do another podcast, going more into details of simplifying those protocols and why only this and why not all those things. And
if you want, we can do another one on maybe like, I think what a lot of people will love is like an anti-aging, talk more about anti-aging.
Plus the good thing about podcasts, I'm sure you'll get feedback. So just ask your listeners, hey, what would you like us to talk about for next peptides? And then direct those questions. I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome, Jean-Francois. I love your attitude. I love your kind of how generous you are with your knowledge, with your time, and thank you. We'll certainly be keeping in touch.
Well, thanks to you. Obrigado.
Thank you for listening to Connecting Minds. We hope you enjoyed this conversation and found it interesting, illuminating, or inspiring. For episode show notes, links, and further information on our guests, please visit christianyordanov.com. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with someone who might also enjoy it. Thank you for being here.